I want to live forever.
Kabiesi, no king ever lived forever. Even the mountains bow to time.
Then I will rule longer than the mountains.
Prepare my journey to the dark forest.
Long before the rivers learned their paths, before they curved obediently through valleys and remembered the sea, there stood a kingdom called Orun Ife. It was a land so alive that the soil itself seemed to breathe. At dawn, mist rose from the earth like the kingdom's own spirit, curling over fields of yam and millet that stretched as far as the eye could see. The crops grew thick and heavy, their leaves glistening beneath the early sun, fed by rains that never came too late and never stayed too long. The markets of Oruife sang every morning. Women called out prices in voices sharpened by years of trade. Children darted between stalls, laughter echoing like bells. Spices colored the air, pepper, dried fish, palm oil, blending into a scent that travelers remembered long after they left. Drummers sat beneath baobab trees, tapping rhythms that matched the heartbeat of the land. And standing watch over it all were the walls of Oruife. They were not built of stone alone, but of red earth and sweat, layer upon layer pressed by generations of hands. Those walls had never fallen. No enemy had ever breached them. Not through strength, not through cunning, not through betrayal. For Oruife was protected not just by warriors, but by balance. At the heart of this kingdom stood the palace, and at the heart of the palace sat a throne carved from ancient Iroko wood, blackened by age and oiled by ritual. The elders said the Iroko tree had been planted by the first king himself, watered with sacrifice, and bound to the destiny of every ruler who followed. Upon that throne ruled King Adegbon. King Adegbon was not a tyrant. He was praised in songs sung by griots beneath moonlight. Mothers spoke his name to restless children, promising peace. Warriors invoked him before battle, trusting his wisdom. He ruled with a firm hand, but not a cruel one. Under his reign, borders were secure, harvests were generous. Justice, though not perfect, was swift and fair. The people loved him because he listened. Rivals feared him because he remembered. Elders respected him because he honored tradition. At least, he once had. And yet, the story you are about to hear does not begin with praise. It begins with fear. On the night King Adegbon turned 40 harvests old, the moon hung low and swollen, its light bleeding red through thin clouds like a wound in the sky. The palace was quiet. Drums rested, guards stood still, even the palace dogs slept uneasily. Then the king screamed, not the shout of command, not the roar of anger, but the sound of a man drowning in silence. Adegbon bolted upright in his bed, his breath tearing through his chest, his heart hammering as though trying to escape him. Sweat soaked his silk robes. His fingers clawed at the air as if pulling himself back from somewhere dark. He dreamed, not of war, not of rebellion, but of his own grave. In the dream, the earth opened easily, too easily, as if it had been waiting for him. There was no resistance, no struggle. The soil parted like welcoming arms. His crown slipped from his head. It rolled once, then vanished into the darkness. The drums of Oruife fell silent. The song stopped mid-verse. The people turned away, not in anger, not in grief, but in indifference. And King Adegbon, great Adegbon, was forgotten, as though he had never ruled, as though he had never mattered. "Light!" the king shouted. "Bring light!" Servants rushed in, torches flaring to life. Shadows leapt across the walls, dancing wildly but refusing to leave the room. The flames revealed the king's face, pale, shaken, eyes wide with something no one had ever seen there before: terror. No matter how brightly the torches burned, the cold remained. The king sat still, breathing hard, listening to the echo of a dream that refused to fade. And in that moment, something ancient and dangerous took root in his heart. From that night onward, King Adegbon changed. At first, it was subtle. He lingered longer in front of mirrors. He touched his beard more often. He stared at his hands as if searching for cracks. Then the questions began. How long did my father rule? How old was my grandfather when he died? Which king lived the longest? The palace scribes answered carefully, choosing their words as one chooses steps across a narrow bridge. Elders exchanged uneasy glances. Priests shifted their feet, beads clicking softly in their hands. For the truth was simple and cruel. All kings die. The king noticed things he had once ignored: gray hair spreading like quiet rebellion through his beard, a stiffness in his knees after long councils, the way young warriors laughed louder, moved faster, healed quicker. Time, he realized, was approaching him, and the more Oruife prospered, the more terrified he became of losing it. One evening, as the moon hung low and red like spilled blood, the king summoned the council of elders. They gathered in silence, staffs tapping softly against the floor. The king did not greet them. "I want to live forever." The words struck the room like thunder. The elders froze. Finally, one found his voice. "Kabiesi, even the mountains bow to time." The king's eyes hardened. "Then I will rule longer than the mountains." Silence followed, thick, heavy, dangerous. At last, one elder whispered words never meant for palace walls. "There are stories," he said, "old ones about immortality." The king leaned forward. "Speak." The elder swallowed. "Beyond the black forest of Enkan, where no bird sings and no hunter returns, there lives a being older than death itself, the Elemi Ayamo, the keeper of lifelines." The king smiled. "Prepare my journey." That night, the drums of Oruife beat, not for celebration, but for doom. Long before King Adegbon stepped beneath its shadow, the black forest of Enkan already knew his name. It knew the sound of his breath. It knew the weight of his fear. It knew the exact moment his heart had begun to dread silence more than war. The elders said the forest was not growing. It was left behind, a scar on the land where the world had once broken and never fully healed. No hunter returned the same. No song echoed twice. The forest did not welcome travelers. It did not echo footsteps. It swallowed sound, light, and courage alike. When King Adegbon and his guards reached its edge, the sky above Oruife remained bright behind them. But ahead, darkness thickened like smoke pressed into soil. The boundary between the living world and something older lay unmarked, yet unmistakable. A single step forward and the air changed. The smell of damp leaves vanished. The warmth of the sun died. Even the insects fell silent as though warned. As King Adegbon crossed the unseen threshold, his guards followed, hesitant but loyal. These were men who had bled for him, men who had stood firm against invading armies, famine and revolt. Their names were known in war songs. Their scars were worn with pride. Yet, inside the forest of Enkan, those same men felt their spirits thin. Trees rose like twisted elders, trunks bent inward as if eavesdropping. Bark split into shapes that resembled mouths frozen mid-whisper. Branches curved unnaturally, forming arches that loomed overhead like watching eyes. Roots refused the earth. They crawled above the soil, thick, knotted, pulsing faintly like veins beneath skin. Some shifted when no one touched them, others coiled tighter when stared at too long. The air tasted old, not stale, not rotten, old, like breath exhaled by centuries. One guard swallowed hard, another tightened his grip on his spear, only to realize his palm was slick with sweat. The deeper they walked, the stranger the silence became. Footsteps made no noise, armor did not clink, charms tied to ankles lay still, refusing to sing. Even speech felt dangerous. When a guard cleared his throat, the sound vanished before reaching his own ears. The forest absorbed everything. It was not quiet, it was listening. By the first night, they made camp, but the fire refused to crackle. Flames burned without sound, casting shadows that moved independently of their bodies. Sleep came to none. Each man felt watched, not from one direction, but from all directions at once. By the second day, time lost its honesty. Paths curved back on themselves. Clearings repeated. Trees rearranged subtly when no one looked. One guard marked a trunk with his blade, 3 clean lines carved into bark. An hour later, they passed the same tree. The marks were gone. No one spoke of it. Fear grew teeth. On the third day, something in the men broke. They stood before a stretch of forest darker than the rest, thicker, heavier, pressing inward like a closing fist. The guard captain stepped forward, then stopped. His knees trembled. He lowered his spear. "This place rejects crowns," he said, his voice barely surviving the air. "Only the foolish walk alone beyond this point." The other guards nodded, relief flickering behind terror. They had gone as far as loyalty allowed. King Adegbon turned to face them. His face bore no rage, only exhaustion, not of body, but of soul. "I am not foolish," he said. Silence stretched. Then he added quietly, "I am afraid." The words settled heavily. These men had never heard their king speak such truth. The captain bowed deeply. One by one, the guards followed. They retreated without looking back. The forest closed behind them. Adegbon stood alone. Fear, when it sits on a throne, is more dangerous than any enemy. Now it walked on 2 legs. Alone, Adegbon moved forward, without witnesses, without protection, without lies. The forest shifted its attention fully to him. Branches creaked, roots adjusted, the air thickened. He spoke aloud to prove he still existed. "I am Adegbon," he said, "son of Ademi, king of Orun Ife." The forest did not answer. His voice felt small. Eventually, though time had lost meaning, the forest opened. A vast clearing lay ahead. No wind stirred the grass, no insects dared crawl, no shadows moved, though the sun hung overhead. The light here was wrong, flat, unchanging. This was a place where time did not move, and at its center, something waited. The Elemi Ayamo did not approach, it existed. Its form refused obedience to shape. Bone grew into roots, smoke breathed like lungs, flesh appeared borrowed, stitched together by will alone. Parts of it resembled faces, then melted away. Its eyes held centuries like stagnant water, deep, unmoving, patient. When it spoke, its mouth did not move. "You have come," it said. The sound echoed inside Adegbon's chest, not his ears. "Because you fear ending." Adegbon's knees weakened, but he did not fall. "I want immortality," he said. "Name your price." The being regarded him. Then it laughed. The sound cracked the earth. Dry, ancient, unkind. Everything. Adegbon hesitated. "Your crown," the being continued. "Your name, your place among your ancestors, your ability to rest." Each word struck like a hammer. I will still rule, Adegbon asked desperately. You will exist, the being replied. Ruling is optional. The king thought of graves, of forgotten kings, of silence swallowing memory. He removed his crown, placed it on the ground. I accept. The forest exhaled. Pain like fire tore through him. His breath stopped, his heart stilled. Darkness. Then, slowly, a heartbeat returned. Heavy, reluctant. When Adegbon opened his eyes, the forest was gone. He returned to Oruife unchanged. Years passed, then decades, then generations. Others aged, he did not. At first, he rejoiced. Then, people stopped greeting him. Children cried at his presence. Animals fled. He could not sleep, could not dream, could not die. Loneliness wrapped around him tighter than royal robes ever had. Time did not announce its departure. It simply moved on without King Adegbon. At first, he tried to measure it the way men always had, by seasons, by harvests, by the height of children he remembered carrying on his shoulders. But soon, even those markers betrayed him. Children he once named at birth now bent beneath age. Warriors who swore loyalty to him were buried beneath earth he could not enter. The palace walls he had ruled from crumbled and were rebuilt by hands that no longer recognized his face. Adegbon remained, unmarked, unclaimed, unchanging. At night, he sat outside the ruins of what had once been Oruife, watching fires flicker in villages that spoke different dialects, prayed to ancestors he had never known, and told stories of kings whose names had survived because they had died. Death, he realized too late, was what preserved memory. Without it, a life simply stretched until it thinned into nothing. One season, Adegbon returned to the rebuilt palace of Oruife. It stood taller now, brighter, decorated with new symbols carved by craftsmen who had never heard his name. The guard stopped him at the gate. "State your purpose," one demanded. "I am Adegbon," he said, "son of Adeyemi, king of this land." The guards laughed. "Our king is Olatunde III," one replied. "Adegbon is a myth mothers tell children to keep them obedient." Myth, the word struck him harder than any spear ever had. Inside the palace, he watched from shadows as a young king ruled, strong, respected, mortal. The people loved him not because he would last forever, but because his time was limited. Adegbon understood then that by choosing immortality, he had chosen exile from power, from love, from meaning. Years turned like pages flipping too fast. He watched wars begin and end without him. He watched borders shift, gods change names, rituals forgotten. He watched iron replace bronze, and stories shrink to whispers. He tried to attach himself to the living. He became a farmer once, hoping soil would ground him. The land rejected him. Seeds he planted refused to sprout. He tried to be a warrior, but wounds sealed before they could bleed, and men grew afraid. Even love fled him. A woman once stayed, briefly. She aged while he did not. When she touched his face, her hands trembled. "You feel like tomorrow," she said softly, "and tomorrow frightens me." She left before he could ask her to stay. After centuries of wandering, Adegbon remembered the forest. The black forest of Nkan still stood, unchanged, patient, eternal in a way that mocked him. It welcomed him this time, not with fear, but recognition. He walked to the clearing where time had once stopped. "Elemi Ayamo," he called, "I have paid your price. Now hear my plea." The forest listened. The being emerged as it always had, bone and smoke, voice and silence. "You return," it said, "not as a king, not even as a man." Adegbon fell to his knees. "I beg you," he whispered, "take it back. Take this curse. Let me die." The being tilted its many faces. "You asked for existence without ending. You received it." "I did not know," Adegbon cried. "I was afraid." The forest stirred. "So was every mortal who ever lived," said the Elemiayam. "Yet they accepted their place." "There is one release," the being said at last. Hope surged dangerously. "What must I give?" Adegbon asked. The being's eyes dimmed. "What you no longer have." silence fell. You may rest, it continued, only when no one remembers you, not as king, not as myth, not as warning. Adegbon understood. To die, he would have to be forgotten completely, erased, not mourned, not sung, not spoken, the final cruelty. Adegbon left the forest and did what he had never done before. He hid. He walked far from villages. He erased his own traces. When storytellers spoke of him, he corrected them until they stopped speaking his name. When elders warned children, he stayed silent. Centuries passed. Fewer stories remained. Then, none. The last drumbeat of his name faded into dust. One morning, as the sun rose over land that no longer knew him, Adegbon felt something new. Tiredness. Not the ache of endless walking, but the weight of completion. He lay beneath an iroko tree, the same kind that carved his throne. For the first time since the forest, his eyes closed, and they did not open again. There was no grave, no crown, no song, only a breeze that moved gently through the leaves, as if something had finally been allowed to rest. The elders later taught this lesson. A crown does not make a king, his ending does. Life has meaning because it ends, and those who refuse death more than injustice will lose both. In African wisdom it is said, the man who refuses to end never begins. Life is precious because it ends. Power is meaningful because it is temporary. And death is not the enemy of life. Fear is. The king who traded his crown for immortality learned too late that when you fear the shadow, you may lose the sun.